Hello all you beautiful people, Brian here for Work to Game, and today I want to talk to you about Final Fantasy 15. Not only that, but give it my full review as well. I am going to let you know this is a spoiler review. We're going to talk about some parts of the story, and so if you don't want to have it spoiled, obviously please come back after you finish the game, and that way you can kind of see where it falls with this. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So Final Fantasy is a series, is one of my all-time favorite games. Obviously, putting up Final Fantasy 14 content for the channel is both a lot of fun and very rewarding because I get to play Final Fantasy 14 and I get to share it with everybody, which is a lot of fun. But the first game really didn't sit that well with me. I was not a fan back for Final Fantasy on the NES. It took Final Fantasy 2, or eventually what became 4, for me to become a fan of the series. And so, all in all, I have been playing since that point, have since gone back and beaten the original. I bring that up because Final Fantasy is also, has a huge legacy to live up to. So if you look at Final Fantasy 15, there are a lot of games that people are going to compare it to. Every Final Fantasy fan, you just maybe coming into the series now, or if you've been here for a while, you're going to have your list. And each game's going to have a kind of a different ranking of where it sits for you on that list. I would say that, Final Fantasy 14, Heaven's Word, Final Fantasy 6, those are some examples of some games that really sit high on my list. And the question, I guess with this review is, where does that put Final Fantasy 15? Is Final Fantasy 15 a game that is the number one on your list of greatest Final Fantasy games of all time in order? There's, if you're sticking with the mainline, numbers, there's 15 to choose from now. And so that's kind of the question that I think everybody's trying to ask themselves: where does this game fall? So let's go ahead and get into kind of the parts that I liked, what I didn't like about the game. I'm going to try to, if you've seen any of my other videos, I'm an optimist, and I like to try to look at the positive sides. But there are definitely some things that with this game that just don't sit right. And at the same time, there's things that this game does that it just does so well, and it's so surprising and so, so fantastic. Again, spoilers are incoming, so be very well aware of that fact. And I will try to put some kind of text or something on the screen, letting you guys know in case you have wandered away during that introduction, which has been fascinating. All right, so let's start with what I loved about the game. Combat. Simple, strong, awesome, so much fun. Actually was the thing I was most concerned about when coming into the game is, am I going to like this somewhat semi-action type battle system that they've created? And the warp strike and the abilities and the commands to my party members, all of it just felt fun. Having spent 45, 50 hours playing through kind of the main scenario of this game, the combat was always something that I enjoyed. In fact, I went into the final chapter, was going to go fight the final boss, fought a King Behemoth, struggled a little bit. I hadn't really been grinding too much with the game. Then I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and see, put a little time into making sure that I'm high powered up. So utilizing the experience farming ability with using the magic with the Expericast, using that system, and then staying at a hotel that would multiply my XP by 3. Gave me 1,000,000 XP really quickly. Was able to jump up over 25 levels, so I was in the 70s. And that, from a power perspective, that was fantastic. But really farming AP is really, I think, where I got the most gains with unlocking various stats from the stat ascension system and all of that. All that being put together and stuff, like, that was a lot of grinding no matter what. And it was fun. Like, I really actually enjoyed that content. The grind didn't feel, just like the worst. Content was exciting. Yes, there was definitely things I would change. I would love to have access to the Beast Whistle by putting it in some kind of quick access menu, having to constantly pull up the items menu and summon monsters was slightly annoying, but you can kind of, when you're doing it over and over again, you can get really quick with it as well. So combat in this game, fantastic. Again, was my major concern turned out to be one of the things that I almost really loved most about it. If I was going to have to give it some kind of score, for this, we'll just go with a letter grading system. You can kind of, take what it means for you in any which way. I would give this an A. I'd give combat in this game an A. It is truly one of the most fun that I've had playing, a game this generation that's really is that standalone RPG. Really enjoyed it. And this is coming from a longtime series of the fan, a longtime fan of the series. So really fantastic stuff. So A. Okay. On the opposite end of combat, the teamwork sucks. It really made me wish that we had access to a gambit system. So Final Fantasy XII, if you aren't aware, if you haven't played it, they're bringing it out this year. It should be fairly fantastic. A huge fan of 12. It had mixed reviews. From a main character perspective, I felt like they tried to push Vaughn on us, but really Bosch was my kind of main character. So that being said, 12 was fantastic. It has a system called the Gambit system. It allows you to really kind of customize your party members' AI with very simple if-then statements and a priority, kind of approach. So the number one item is it's like if your HP falls below 30%, cast Cure. Simple, easy enough, very effective. And then you can have various statements and up to 12 of them in any given Gambit system. So all in all, great system. I felt like this game would have benefited heavily from that, being that you've got your AI controlled party members, and yes, they have their personality and they have their role and they're going to do various things, but it would have been I would have really enjoyed it more if I had a little bit more control over those situations, because I really couldn't control those characters. So all in all, I felt like the teamwork of this game, because I felt like anytime that I was the boss was going to do something awful, and you can kind of get to know the boss fights. You're like, okay, I need to get away. Well, of course, all my guys are just going to keep standing around, and there's no, without trying to use Ignis's regroup and things like that. It was just no real way from the active system to say, okay, we need to get the heck away from him. He's doing his tell. I felt like that was just a misnomer, because then it just meant that they're going to go down. I'm going to burn through some potions or some Phoenix Downs or some elixirs or whatever, and bring them back up, repeat the process, and then it's just more of a way that the game makes you consume items as opposed to anything else. So all in all, the teamwork in this game, if I had to give it a rating, I would have to then go with a D. It really didn't, it felt like with some slight adjustments, it could have easily been one of the best aspects. That's not talking about their character, their personality, the story, by any means of that just yet. We'll get into that here in a little bit. But just the general AI and the frustration, that I felt with them. There were moments like that it would excel, especially with link strikings, kind of those team up maneuvers. That was really cool, but that wasn't 100% of what was happening. And so I just kind of felt like the teamwork in this game could have heavily been improved. And maybe it will, who knows. So let's get back on that positive train, shall we? I loved the open world, the setting, even the dungeons, and even the end, these optional end game, if you want to consider them end game dungeons. I loved the setting in which that you have these friends who, you have this prince, you have this world, like EOS, the whole, especially opening game before you kind of get on that ship, and it becomes very, very almost a little 13-ish with, it's very kind of linear, and not that linearity can't be bad, just more or less that it was such this contrast to this amazing, exciting world that I really love to explore, like on the back of a chocobo, driving my car, just running around to see what was around the next corner. All in all, this was such a beautiful, big part of the game. And I think that's kind of where it almost sets itself up to be this double-sided coin, because for the opening world, the personalities, the characters that I felt like, if I was going to try to come up with some kind of word or make one up, or pull one off the top of my head, believability of the characters, the settings, the world, the gas stations, the rest stops, the outposts, the reason to go and try and talk with the diners, to eat. It had this really big impact to leveling up. There's a reason to sleep. Going out at night is dangerous. Like, all of these things really just brought this world into this exciting the place that I didn't want to leave. So if I would give it the absolute highest marks. Yeah, I would give just talking about the world, the settings, the various characters. That's Prompto, Iggy, Gladio. They're like, just that band of brothers essentially as well. But then the expanded cast of characters, as it all relates. Like, I'm from Texas, having the characters with the various kind of more, country-esque like accents and their characters and their personality. Like, it really did feel more at home. And so all in all, like, just to get to a score, A+ marks for this piece of it. And I bring that up because then switching right back into the main plot of the story, this is where things get crazy. And so really my first thought on the main story is, what the heck was going on? Luna was just, I just felt like there was something that was supposed to be there. My main complaint about this story is primarily that it felt unfinished, unresolved, from a standpoint, like I said, with like Luna, with more of the narrative-focused, driven approach from chapter 10 onwards, all the way through chapter 14. I'm just, it just made me wonder, like, if they had more development time, would we get more story? And since the game has come out, they have said that they're going to be patching in various story elements to help resolve various plot questions that, we have with various characters in the game. Cool. Don't know if that's going to make all the difference. But I guess some examples, to get more into the spoiler territory is, like, and I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, even though, like, it was audible. But with Arden, I liked him as a villain. I liked, this essentially this character who's this immortal, obviously tormented by his abilities, in which that he was curing and casting out demons, but apparently they were, absorbing into him. So he, eventually goes mad. Don't know really or understand why he wasn't chosen as the king. He was well loved, or he was the king, or something of that nature. So he wins. He achieves his goal to end the line of Lucius, and I guess also to be killed. His goal is to get Noctis powered up so that he can be defeated. I don't know if he was planning on being then defeated in the astral plane where they end up going to. I don't know at that point, but at least from how I perceive the story is that here's a villain who wins, much like Kefka. There's definitely a draw or connection that I kind of gravitate to and draw to from that, especially with the World of Ruin. But this is where things just get wrong. Like, I felt like not being able to explore the World of Ruin is criminal. Like, it's just like, I was like, coming from 6 and being that 6 is one of my all-time favorites, like, I saw the World of Ruin quest, if I can pronounce that, the World of Ruin. There we go. I saw the quest name, the World of Ruin, and I'm immediately thinking, this is awesome. This is, okay, yeah, we went to this, this tunnel. We went from this big world through this, tunnel to kind of get us to this other big world of darkness and chaos, and we're going to have to go get the band back together. And then it wasn't it at all. It was like, well, thanks for coming. We're here. Oh, here are your friends. They're all here. Great. All right. Let's go beat the boss. He's waiting for us. Cool. All right. Final fight. The end. Interesting. Don't really, fully understand all of it. Everybody, we're kind of, people are debating about like what the various meanings of things are. But here's the thing. It's like, I felt like maybe as a part of the development plan that the World of Ruin was this other way that you can go and explore. You can see what's happened, with no light. You can see these characters 10 years, aged. You can kind of have those connections. That would have been, fantastic, but it wasn't that. And so while I did like the main villain, I liked especially the voice acting and the character, it just felt like they needed more development time. And this is where the thing that really kind of frustrates me is that this is where I think Versus 13 really hurts 15 in that way. Final Fantasy 15 has only been in development for 3 years. It was only in development for 3 years. They took Versus 13, salvaged various parts of that, brought that into the world and the setting of 15. But the downside of that is that so have people thought that this game has been in development for 10 years because Versus 13 was announced in 2006 and it is 2016. Don't know. Wasn't there as a part of the development team, but the fact is that if Square Enix felt like they could not delay this game anymore because of that fact, I think Final Fantasy 15 suffers from it. There are so many issues that I kind of have with that whole part. And again, it's so funny because it's like I felt like the rest of the game is very solid, but with this, with with how it all kind of like wraps up with, like, I didn't even mind the gameplay issues with kind of the linearity parts of it. I thought they were still fun and interesting, but I've, looking online, reading online, it seems like there have been, rumors and speculation that there were so much other parts of these areas in this game that we would have had available to us, but they weren't finished in time. And so they ended up having to get cut for various reasons. And so it just became these smaller aspects of it driving us toward the inevitable end, which again wasn't finished. So I felt like, this game definitely needed some more development time in this area. If they were able to having fixed chapter, let's say 10 onward, bringing in a little bit more of the content maybe that they had originally planned. Again, this is pure speculation as to what their original plans were for 15. Maybe this game would be one of the best Final Fantasies out there. It certainly has the DNA of it. And so that's kind of where, you see reviews like, IGN, I think 8.5, a lot of those, a lot of the scores are around that area. It's like, okay, I can agree with that. And the thing is, this game is so in and of itself contradicting itself. So this is my big issue with it. The feeling that there was a lot more there. And I'm wondering, are they going to address this with DLC? Are they going to say, hey, check it out, now you can go do this, and this? That would be really cool if they did that. Like any standalone RPG, especially from Square Enix's perspective. Now, I don't know what their DLC plans are, and maybe they're going to support this game with updates. Maybe they can come in and kind of fix in some of these holes or add in some of these areas that might have been unfinished. I'm not sure one way or the other. If that was the case, that'd be a first really for the series. Outside of their MMOs like Final Fantasy 14 and 11, it's like the games really come out and then they're kind of done. But we might see, especially with, this generation of games, that isn't the case. That would actually be exciting. And so reviews, could change. This is my negative. Not being able to explore. If they gave me the ability to explore the world of Ruin, that all these various things were opened up or changed, and it's interesting and I can go do that, that would have been interesting. Going and trying to find, my friends, get the band back together. I've been gone for 10 years. It just kind of felt so rushed. Like, hey, I'm back. And they're like, cool. Well, let's go beat the boss. Like, it didn't feel natural, especially when you look at, again, how it contracts the rest of the world. I said that the world felt alive. It felt like it had purpose. They did such a good job at making, everything seem like it really belonged in that world. And then the ending, it didn't stick the landing. So brass tacks, if I had to give this part of the kind of the main story and the plot, even the parts that I liked, and that's kind of where I put the world and in and of itself on its own, standing outside of this, because that was so positive and good. I didn't want this dragging it down. You can do averages if you want, but I would have to give kind of the main plot a D. The characters in the game are fantastic. I really enjoyed them. The plot and how it felt really rushed at the end, I think overall hurt this. They do, I feel like, a really good job at building this up. And then this brings into question, and I don't want to get too much into a rant, but why do the movie? Were all these... they could have... I don't know, from a budgetary perspective, maybe it made more sense. Did all of those scenes some have been acted and had to be produced in some way from Versus 13 because we knew we were going to be in the city in Versus 13? I don't know, but this ending doesn't fit the rest of the game. It feels like it felt like there was this epic, and it just fell flat on its face towards the end. Okay, I'm moving on. I promise I'm moving on. Gonna think positive. Let's get back on the positive train. New Game Plus. Fantastic addition to the game. I don't know why that most of the Square Enix games since Chrono Trigger haven't thought to bring that in. I love that fact that they brought that in. You can carry your levels, your items, your ascensions forward. Your quests just get cleared and you get reset there. Brilliant system. Thank you. Great idea. A+ for that. Magic in this game, fun, actually interesting, exciting, powerful stuff. A+, absolutely. I was kind of concerned about it. I was like, oh, so I was actually real conservative with Magic. So when you're crafting, you're putting in various monster parts or items to get various results with the Magic. I found myself not wanting to sell things, at all, because it's like, well, I want to make sure I've got enough of those so I can craft up, interesting spells, and so that way I can spend time with it. The one thing I didn't do enough was actually spend enough points in my Magic Ascension system. There's some really cool stuff there, but whenever I would use Magic, it was so powerful. Visually, it was impressive, but it wasn't just like this light little visual. Magic really had this, unbelievable power to it, and I could see why perhaps even the Empire was afraid, because the Lucians had this ability. Their king was able to grant this power to his glaives, and so all those are the things. So it could be essentially considered, frightful, and they really made it so powerful in the game. It was just always all expiring and exciting to see it go off. And I think if I did another playthrough, I would do a way more Magic focused skill up, process, as well as making sure that I've got a lot of spells handy. And there's some really cool tricks that you can really get a lot of the spells crafted, where you have lots of stacks of items and things like that. So it's a really cool system. I keep waving my arm around because I'm so excited. So like I said, A+ for the Magic system. Love the music too. Obviously being able to drive around the car, collect the various soundtracks was really cool. Obviously you have such a wealth and brilliance with the music in Final Fantasy. It's really great. So I can't really knock the music, because even if you didn't like a particular track, well, you can kind of change it. So I guess brass tacks, getting down to the root of it, where does Final Fantasy 15 sit as a game for me? And that's so hard to kind of put it into justice. So I would have to say Final Fantasy 15 is a solid B. The parts that fail, they fail hard. But the parts that they succeed I think are just so awesome. In fact, I wrote this as a part of this script that I'm trying to kind of follow, just to make sure I'm trying to stay on point for my ideas. But I describe Final Fantasy 15 as a bipolar game, kind of split personality and design. And the news that they're going to patch in various things is exciting and hopeful. And I know some people are going to knock it. People are going to say, well, it should have been there from day one. Fair point. But we're also in a world with internet and updates, and that world's not going away. So if they go in and fix these issues, put out patches that fix and bridge the story and add these different areas, and basically, like, if they did that, 15 could easily be at the top of my list. But right now, it is not. So where's it gonna fall? And I don't have an answer to that question. I apologize if you're trying to get, a list out of me right now. And I think I need to give it some more time. I think once we see the DLC, I think that's when I'm going to be able to kind of rate 15. Right now, it's a game that I want to keep playing. It's a game that I want to go back in and play tomorrow. I want to go run those dungeons. I want to do New Game Plus. I want to make sure I get every skill unlocked on the Ascension grid. I will grind those Ascension points out if I get the time to do so. It's truly an awesome game, and you should absolutely play it. Just know that the later half is it doesn't do the first half justice. So like I said, I feel like it's a bipolar game, and it's split in its design and its direction. So I really want more. I want more of this game. I want more of the good stuff. I think it should absolutely be played. I Don't know if it's actually going to top anyone's top Final Fantasy game. Now, that'd be curious. If it is your top Final Fantasy game, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Again, if it is your top game, nothing against you. That's fantastic. I have, there is nothing wrong with this being your favorite Final Fantasy game. I know that there's a lot of people who've never played a Final Fantasy game that are picking this up for the first time, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. You're enjoying it as well. Hopefully maybe if this is your first that you'll go back and check out some of the past libraries as we move into Final Fantasy's 30th anniversary this year. It's pretty crazy to think about that. So let's talk about the story. Let me know if you have any questions below. I would love to hear your theories about Arden and the world that you've seen. I've gone and looked up some various interesting articles that people have kind of theory crafted about the game. And there's some interesting lore there. There's some stuff that is in the game, but it doesn't resonate the way I think it should. So I'm really more interested in having that conversation about it. So if you guys are too, and you're still watching this part, please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Brian for Work to Game. This is my Final Fantasy 15 review. Maybe it's a little bit all over the place, but I guess it's fitting of the game that I'm reviewing, Final Fantasy 15. So I hope you subscribe. But if you're already a subscriber, thanks so much for subscribing. We really appreciate you coming back, and we appreciate having you here. Hit that like button if you like this video, or hit the other button if you don't. I guess put it actually in camera. I hear it works just as well as well. So for Work to Game, my name's Brian. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. So until then, take care.